Peace and many bright blessings, guys. It's your Queen of Spades coming at you today. And today we're going to get into this reading on Holly Bailey and DDG. Now, I'm going to handle this entire reading and situation kind of with a little more tenderness and care, because it involves, two kids. Even though they're grown, they still young. And I actually, I knew about Holly Bailey. I knew about her when she was like really little, and her and her sister Chloe would be basically, making like little music videos, singing and stuff together, and they just look so adorable and sweet and cute to me. And then they would get into their little riffs, but they were just still like cute and adorable. And I didn't know really much about DDG at all. I started learning about him basically through his relationship with Holly Bailey. So I understand that they started dating, and then at some point they went into a full-blown relationship. Eventually Haley and DDG are pregnant with little Halo, who is also so cute and adorable. And you can see like in his little mannerisms in his face, like he literally has like both of their looks in one. He is just the cutest little thing and so adorable. Um, but I noticed that there were little rifts back and forth. Little things were being said here and there online about um, their relationship, and them basically, having a new baby together. And you hear the different whispers about how, he's kind of, DDG is feeling like, you know, um, he's always kind of misjudged and um, not really fairly, judged at that. He would I would hear him say on different posts or videos that basically, because Haley is known as like a Hollywood princess, that he's always looked at as the culprit. He's always looked at as the aggressor, the one who's always at fault. And she can do no wrong, she can do no harm because she's the Hollywood princess. And to be honest, those things would stick out to me a little bit. um, I felt like, why would he say that? You know, what would make him think that that's happening or that's going on? So I'd be curious about it. Meanwhile, she wouldn't really be saying anything. And then there was the post where um, she said, I'm tired of my baby being used for like clicks and views and taken out of town or whatever, without me being aware of it or something to that extent. And everybody was like, wow, like, Halle Bailey made a subliminal post concerning, DDG. And then at some point, she just was like, I apologize, like, I misspoke, something to that effect. She was like, I'm dealing with, um, what is it, postpartum, which is common for women after they have a baby. A lot of women, I would even say most women, mostly all women, really, um, yeah, go through postpartum, but they go through it in different ways. Some may have more extreme cases than the next woman. So it just depends on that woman and really, whatever she's dealing with and how she's dealing with it. Um, um, yeah, so um, I would see posts by DDG, and he would never really. Sorry, somebody just messaged me. Um, but he would never really say anything, you know, um, like from what I saw, because I wasn't really up on them and their coupling activities. Um, but from what I saw, like, even when Holly Bailey made that post and she was like, I'm tired of this happening or whatever, he didn't like come back at her like in an ignorant fashion. Um, to me, it always looked like he was being like kind of mature. Um, he wasn't saying nothing negative about her. He was defending her. And I was like, okay, this young man got potential. Like, as far as, his relationship with Holly Bailey and, their son is concerned and things of that nature. So I loved it. Um, but when I still wasn't like paying a lot of attention. You see things come up in media, things like that. For the most part, I still wasn't like paying attention to their relationship particularly. I didn't really start paying attention until it became a court docket. And now they're both talking about taking each other to court and, these different things like this. So once that happened, it obviously became a little more serious. Um, and I'm looking. Holly Bailey is actually 25 years old. She was born March 27th, 2000. And she was born in ATL. And I was really looking at this entire situation a little bit more close up, listening to like the different proofs that they were bringing against each other, where court was concerned. Um, DDG, he was born December 10th, 1997. He's 27 years old, and he's from Pontiac, Michigan. Is that right? Michigan? Um, yeah, Michigan. Okay. Um, so I saw all these different things going back and forth between the two of them and the court situation and all of that. So I decided I wanted to do a reading on it. I became very curious and intrigued by the situation. I just really want to know, is it him? Is it her? Or is it the both of them? I'm just really curious to know. Um, for me, I have been close up and personal with the study of psychology, behavioral science, leaning more towards the counseling or the mental therapy of children, adolescents primarily, and adults. So, because I have this background, um, I'm also curious from a psychological standpoint of view, um, actually, particularly. Because to me, it's not just a drama filled situation. There's got to be some other things going on too, right? Um, so, let's see. Let's see if we can find out exactly what that is. Okay. So, um, I also know about, um, you know, domestic, violence, narcissistic abuse, what that looks like, what that sounds like, um, first through experience and then through helping others deal with these same things. Um, so I feel like I would be able to really see into this situation thoroughly and completely. Probably a little bit more thorough than maybe some others, um, you know, or you know, maybe the others can see more into it, even without the degree or the studying of that particular, um, you know, um, matter, you know, the study of psychology. Maybe there's others that can look into it too, but I know what I bring to the table as far as situations like this is concerned. And so I'm coming from that perspective and that point of view. I'm really curious about all of this. So let's see what we can find out about this situation. Okay. All right. Okay. My nose always starts itching like clockwork. Firstly, I would like to ask, in this situation with DDG and Holly Bailey, um, is it a situation of just two, you know, kid adults, kind of getting into a riff in their, love life and their relationship? Okay, that's a no. So, are you saying it's more serious than that? Okay. Okay. Um, okay. So, in terms of these different things that I've seen over time, um, I saw messages from Holly Bailey to DDG, and people are saying, she was kind of acting, a little wild even before, pregnancy with Halo. So it can't be, just postpartum. Something else is there. So let's ask: is Holly Bailey going through, or does she have any psychological issues? Okay, that's a yes. Is it mental illness of some sort? Okay, that's a yes. Hmm. Okay. Does this mental illness or mental impairment stem from her childhood? Okay. Does all of it stem from her childhood or elsewhere too? So, most of her psychological issues, mostly all of it, comes from just primarily her childhood? Okay. And I asked that because I saw something that said um, there were issues in the home, um, between the mom and the dad, um, from when they were really, really young, Holly Bailey and Chloe, um, where the dad, was abusive towards the mom. And what I don't like is that if someone comes forth, and this is man or woman, and they file with the courts that they are involved in a domestic violent type of situation, I don't like that the courts don't take it seriously enough. They seem to think that people just want to waste their time. Like they may not be as serious and may not be as detrimental as they're saying. And so they really handle it with non urgency at all. And so, from my understanding, um, the dad was putting hands on the mom, and the mom filed in court about it. Um, they postponed the court case, saying he needed to go through, 9 months of therapy and anger management and all these other things before they could move forward with deliberating on the domestic abuse issue. And by the time he got out of that therapy, the courts had dismissed the case. So, like, do you not believe when people come to you and say that their life is in danger, that they're being beat on and abused? Like, what is it? Like it's almost like you can only get an urgent response if it becomes like an open case where like lots of people were beat up, like with the Diddy case or something. Like, but if it's not that and you're just a regular person, then you practically, like, it's really hard to get any type of care, concern, or response to that situation, which is really crazy to me. if I were a judge, I would definitely handle that type of situation with way more concern and care than what's being handled, how these situations, these types of situations are being handled today. It's just not fair to the victims. It really isn't. There's no justice in moving like that. Like, if this were the judge's daughter or niece or granddaughter or, someone close to them, a friend, someone close to them, would they act this nonchalantly in the system with someone that they knew that was going through domestic abuse? I really don't think they would. So it's like, why do you feel comfortable then doing this to other people? That's crazy to me. But I say that to say, does because I'm talking to Halle Bailey's Halle Bailey's higher self. Does Halle Bailey remember the abuse that her mother suffered when she was younger? So that's a yes. And to be honest, you don't necessarily have to have an abusive situation from childhood through your parents for you to pick an abusive partner. Because I've seen it time and time again. Like, I know firsthand people whose parents never really fought at all physically in front of them, but they still ended up with an abusive partner. So it's something psychological, or even bouts of immaturity that makes that person not see why that abuser is choosing them. What about them makes that abuser comfortable with them? And it's something that doesn't let that person see. And perhaps it's, for the people who didn't experience that in their childhood, perhaps it's maybe they're just a little different and you give them a pass because they're broken in different ways. And I don't know. It's just different scenarios out there. But a lot of times, the person who experiences the abuse at the hands of the other person doesn't see the signs beforehand, or they see them. Because I know lots of people who actually did see the signs beforehand, but they didn't know what they were looking at because they never experienced it in their childhood from their parents. They didn't even know what that looked like. They didn't even know to call that abuse because it started off real subtle at first. So that's why I needed to ask that question. So, because of what Halle Bailey experienced in her childhood, is this one of the primary reasons that she was attracted to DDG? That's a yes. Did DDG witness any bouts of abuse in his childhood growing up? That's a no. Okay. Does DDG have narcissistic tendencies? Okay, that's a yes. Um, was he sort of born with narcissistic personality traits? Okay, that's a yes also. What about Halle Bailey? Does she have narcissistic personality traits as well? Mm, that's a yes. So that actually makes sense because it doesn't necessarily have to be empath narcissist um, connection. It can be narcissist on narcissist, where uh, they both are wounded or triggered in different ways, but they lean on each other in sort of like a trauma bond. And because of this, they become closer with each other and depend on each other to kind of make each other feel good. And when one feels like they don't want to do that anymore, then the other one suffers like kind of like um goodness, what is the terminology? The other one suffers kind of like, I know what I want to say, but I can't think of the terminology right off the top of my dome. But it's like equivalent to um, a tea glass being dropped onto a hardwood floor and shattering into many pieces. That's what happens to the person on the receiving end psychologically when they can no longer trauma bond, or they can no longer get emotional supply when and how they want it. um, it shatters them within, and then they really start like uh, um, like the terminology people use today, they really start crashing out. And yeah, so okay, so now we know both of them have narcissistic tendencies, which is what draws them into each other, but they're both toxic for each other at the same time. And so their being together only um, makes their connection and themselves as individuals um, worse. The worse. It brings out the worst in them both, their connection with each other. Um, so, okay. Wow, that's very interesting. Um, I didn't really know what to expect as far as like the answers to these different things are concerned. But I'm just kind of keeping an open mind and seeing what we find out along the way. Because I've heard so many different stories and seen so many different posts. Some people are saying, DDG, he's such a good, great man. Like, Halle Bailey is crazy. And then some people are saying, Halle Bailey is the good girl. She's Hollywood. You know, she's the Hollywood princess. And, he just was with her for clout and money. So I've been hearing different things. So let's see what all that's about. Um, was was DDG actually in love with Bailey at some point or another? Halle Bailey. Okay, that's a yes. What about Halle Bailey? Was she also in love with DDG at some points? That's also a yes. Um, was there infidelity in their relationship, like way before Halle Bailey got pregnant? Hmm. Who? Who was the infidel? Was it Halle Bailey? No. Was it DDG? Okay. Yes. At some point I heard um, someone was reading out her messages to him, and she was like you've ruined me. I'm pregnant, and I remember like all these things coming out about, oh my gosh, she made the worst mistake of her life. She's young. She's just getting started in this business. Now she's got a baby. Why would she do that? Her career is over. Da 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 da. I feel like she was referencing some of that. Like, dang, I kind of like, you know, laid 10 toes down for you. Like, and now we got this baby on the way, and now we in this situation. Like, I'm already, my reputation's on the line. But like, not only that, but you're not here for me, and um you're cheating on me with this other girl. So let's find out. um she mentioned a girl named Lala, Halle Bailey. Was DDG cheating on Halle Bailey with the girl named Lala? Okay, so that's a no, and that's really good that it came out that way, because I did see the girl Lala. Um, she had, I think she went online and she did like a little video, and she was like, we've really just been friends. At first, it was just strictly professional. Then it went from that to friendship, and she was saying, and I understand some of you don't think that, a guy and a girl can just be friends, but that's really all we are. And she actually seemed genuine, so I just wanted to know. Um, did Lala at any time have romantic feelings for DDG? I'm just curious. No. Did DDG have romantic feelings towards Lala? Uh, there it is. He did have romantic feelings for Lala. So that's maybe Haley was kind of picking up on that. And he's saying, we're just friends, whatever the case. Um, but she's feeling like it's more because it was more where he was concerned. He was actually probably like secretly crushing on Lala, but he wasn't really saying anything. But at the same time, it probably was showing up and coming off in his body language. And it's just, women have a women's intuition. Men have something like that too, but a woman has a woman's intuition, and she can feel if it's just a little bit more than just a little friendly, a little thing in the atmosphere going on. So I'd also like to know, before Halle Bailey got pregnant, um, did she said he was always texting girls, and he said he was texting his ex while they were together, and I think this was possibly before the pregnancy, and he said she crashed out. She got really upset. She started attacking him. Um, and, he was just saying hi to his ex. It wasn't nothing like that. So I would like to know if that was really the case. Was DDG just simply saying hi to his ex in the text messages when him and Holly Bailey were like just really starting to go out? Okay. So he wasn't trying to like flirt or be sneaky where the ex was concerned behind Holly Bailey's back. Okay. So the pendulum said yes. Um, he was texting, but it wasn't it wasn't towards him trying to be disrespectful to her. He wasn't trying to go behind her back or be sneaky with this female. It really was a friendship that he just happened to have with his ex. So then that would mean that Holly's reaction was unwarranted. Is that correct? Yes. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Um. Yeah. So she probably was looking a little deeper into these couple of situations with these different females, thinking that in her mind, like there was something more going on, but it wasn't. Um, and she had no concrete proof, whatever the case. And so she was just kind of like doing a little bit of emotional terrorism, um, which is normal in her state of being and acting as someone who is psychologically and mentally impaired. Um, and then if you have narcissistic tendency, you can kind of see things from a very warped perspective. And they both have narcissistic tendencies, but I haven't even gotten to him and his crash outs just yet. But I wanted to clarify, what I was hearing as far as what Halle Berry, Halle Bailey has stated and complained about where DDG is concerned. So now I'd like to know, now that we've gotten the cheating thing cleared. So he actually was not cheating, right? He didn't cheat on Halle Bailey. Okay. So they're saying he did, but as far as the two people like his ex and Lala that Halle Bailey mentioned, he didn't do anything with them. He has like sort of a crush on Lala, but she didn't feel the same way about him, so nothing happened there. Now, when did this cheating take place? Was this before? Was this while DDG and Halle Bailey were just dating? What? Okay, that's a yes. Was this before they got serious? No. So this was after they were already serious in their relationship. Good grief. Um, does Halle Bailey know about this incident? No. Wow. Wow. Okay. So maybe she was just going off of a feeling then. Even though Halle Bailey didn't know about the particular situation of cheating, was she going off of intuition, women's intuition? Here we go. Yes. So she may not have known about it firsthand, and that's why she was just randomly like, it's this one, it's Lala. Like, she was just feeling it was with somebody, but she wasn't totally sure who. But she knew, like, it was with somebody, and she was right. She was just wrong about the people she was accusing of it being, of him being with. Um, now, is it true that Holly Bailey had um, tagged up DDG's car? Mm, that's a yes, and a strong one. So, and did DDG just happen to find these tags one day? Yes. Okay. Um, So did Halle Bailey tag up his car hoping to find the person that she felt like he was cheating with? That's a yes. Did she ever find the person that he cheated with? That's a no. Wow. Wow. Okay. Even though it's understandable, it's still crazy. Um, Cause if you gotta do all that, that's a bit much. Um, that's when you're crossing the line into, just going too far. Everybody has free will. If you find yourself trying to force a person to stay loyal and faithful to you, it's not going to go the way that you want it to because you're forcing the issue. Um, so that that to me, I can kind of see why he ended up kind of like backing away a bit because like was DDG also around this time that him and Halle Bailey just dating, was he also emotionally terrorizing her? uh he was not doing this to her, so she was very much so picking up on the fact of him being with someone else outside of them being together. And she was going off on him. She was, monitoring his location, popping up at these random places that he was at. And that's kind of scary a little bit. Anyone, like, I've had the experience, anyone who's ever gone through the experience of stalking on any level, it's not cool. It really tears up your nerves because first of all you weren't expecting it, and so therefore when it happens it's like, what in the entire hell? um like, are they following me? Like, did they just show up here like by themselves? I've never seen them over here before. Like, it's weird because it's like, that's when like this person is actively like stalking you a bit. And then the next question is how? Like, how did they even find out where the heck you were? Um, so wow. Um, okay. So she was putting tags in his car so that she could follow him, figure out, keep abreast of where all he was going at all times. And she was doing this because she felt like early on he was cheating on her, which it confirmed he was. And this made her feel a type of way. Um, Personally, I think that at that point, instead of it going any further, there should have been a breakup then. But, sometimes youngsters, they're overwhelmed with the passion and, the heat of the situation. They just end up kind of like making up, and then it leads to a moment of passion. The next thing one of them is pregnant, and, you know, um, wow. Um, okay. So moving forward, um, because some people were saying, I think he's just trying to make her look bad. I think he's trying to make her look bad. I think he docked up some of those text messages. So the text messages where Halle Bailey seemed like she was screaming for help, um, she was threatening to do harm to herself. Was that actually Halle Bailey's original messages to DDG? So that's a yes. Okay. Is she now getting the help that she was desperately needing. That's a yes. Okay, that's good. Is it psychological help? Yes. Very good. Very good. Okay. Um, Now let's get to the court case. She says that DDG and her got into an argument, a back and forth, in which he started to curse at her and say, B, get the F out of my car. Um, and she said that he slammed her head against the steering wheel, chipped her tooth, and he was like basically laying paws on her. Was that in fact the actual story, the truth of what happened? That's a yes. DDG says that he never put his hands on Halle Bailey in an attempt to abuse her. He said that she was beating him up from the back seat, and from the exertion or whatever, she ended up falling into the steering wheel herself and hurting herself. And he never put hands on her. So I just would like to know if that was the actual truth, what DDG was saying. That's a no. Wow. So he actually did beat up on her. Mm. Oy. Was Halo in the car when this was taking place? Wow. Was Halo asleep? Okay. That's halfway good. Has Halo seen or experienced other times where there was domestic violence between his mom and dad? Mm. And people don't understand when you have children that are raised up in these types of situations and scenarios, then it becomes like the equivalent of a glass, a teacup being dropped onto a hardwood floor once again, but except this time it's for the child. And it can cause, different issues, like split personality, um, you know, um, you know, bi- I want to say bipolarism. Um, I want to say schizophrenia, and this is off the top. Um, don't quote me, I'm not completely sure. But traumas of any and all sorts can cause um, mental and psychological impairment because it's such a traumatic situation. The mind doesn't exactly know how to handle what just happened. And so, in most cases, because it doesn't know how to handle it or process it, it just simply doesn't. And by the time it's done trying to process it, now you have multiple personalities, or now you are a very scary person, and you don't want to ever be in a relationship again because this happened, and it's too much for you, and maybe you feel you're better off by yourself. Whatever the case, it can just cause different reactions. It could cause a male child to either grow up and become the abuser himself to someone else's child, to someone's daughter or sister. He can become that. Or he can end up internalizing what's going on, and he can pick a woman that is physically harmful and abusive towards him, like what he sees his father do to his mom, which is really not good. It's not good at all. Like, stop this shit. Like, you know, these types of things shouldn't even be happening at all, but it definitely should not be happening in front of the children. Um, it's just it's not good. Um, we're literally setting ourselves up generationally um, to fail by continuing to, place these same, mental and psychological ailments that we are trying to heal from and release from ourselves. We're now exposing our children to them, which is never a good thing. And they're young, so I don't even know if they're thinking this deeply, but it's not a good situation, for sure. Not for them or Halo. Um, but, wow. So she was telling the truth. He actually did beat her up. Now, he said he incurred wounds from her as well. Um, so the cut and stuff on his hand, was that done by Halle Bailey? Wow. He's lying. That's a no. Was at any time Halle Bailey ever physically abusive towards DDG throughout their relationship? Wow, that's a no, guys. That's crazy. Was Halle Bailey ever physically abusive to DDG after they broke up? He was lying. Now, but doesn't excuse what she did do. Because trauma bond, toxic relationships, both individuals tend to mirror each other. So she wasn't physically abusive, but did she emotionally terrorize DDG? Emotionally abuse him? That makes sense. Um, I want to ask the threats that she would say over text message about having a knife and wanting to end her life. Was she serious about wanting to do these things? No. Was this a cry for attention from DDG? Yes. So while she was terrorizing him emotionally, he was terrorizing her physically. None of it is okay. But they're very toxic for each other. I hate that the baby Halo is in the middle of all of this. Um because he shouldn't be in the middle of all this, but unfortunately he is. Um wow. So she says at some point, she says that the text messages that he put out there about her, they were from the like previous years, like 2022, 2023, 2024. Is that true? Okay, so that's a yes. Was she sending any of those types of texts to DDG recently? Okay, that's a no. So she actually did start getting the help that she's desirous of having. So that's a good thing in a sense. Now, let me see. In the situation that has made headlines with its court documents, um, is it true that Holly Bailey, the reason why they got into it physically in the car this last time was this because Holly Bailey was trying to force the issue of DDG having a conversation with her about their different times uh, being spent with Halo. She wanted to work out a schedule. Is that true? Wow, that did not happen. So, okay. Let's find out what the energy was behind DDG putting his hands on Halle Bailey. What was the energy behind DDG putting his hands on Halle Bailey? Because this is now at a particular point in time where she has been diagnosed with whatever her mental ailment is, and she has been prescribed medicine, so she's not really crashing like initially. Hmm. Okay. Thank you, Spirit. Any others? What was the nature um, or the energy behind DDG putting his hands on Holly Bailey? Um, the incident that she refers to in the court case. What was the energy behind DDG putting his hands on Holly Bailey? Okay. Thank you, Spirit. Hmm. Okay. At least one more, please. What was the energy behind DDG put his hands on Holly Bailey with the incident that she's referring to in her court documentation, where she's all bruised up and her tooth is chipped? Um, what was the energy behind DDG deciding to put his hands on Holly Bailey? Mm. Mm. Wow. Okay. Wow. Is this two cards? Wow. Okay. Mm. Wow. Okay. Thank you, Spirit. So, wow. Okay. The first card that popped out is the Six of Spears or Six of Swords, the Five of Spears, the Page of Spears, the Nine of Teacups, the Seven of Flowers, the Emperor, the Queen of Flowers, the Tower, the Star, mm, the Wheel of Fortune. Mm, mm. And on the bottom of the deck is the Three of Hedgehogs. Wow. What I'm getting off the bat, mm, this makes a lot of sense. So, okay. So, is what they were saying about DDG being feeling insecure, where Halle Bailey, her fame and fortune is concerned, is that true? Mm, makes sense. That's a yes. Is she insecure about him rising up in fame and fortune? Okay. Is Halle Bailey jealous of DDG in any type of way? No. Is DDG jealous of Halle Bailey in any type of way? Yes. That makes sense. Now, she's not completely innocent in this situation. She definitely was on her emotional terrorism for sure. But he definitely was putting paws on this girl. And he lied and said that wasn't the case. Of course, most narcissists do lie because they know that if they were to ever admit to the truth, the way people were crashing out on the internet about this, like, that's how it caught my attention, because once it became a court case and people were looking at the different facts in the court case and stuff like that, and what she was saying and then what he was saying, once it got to that extent, they were like, protect all black women. Like, people started, you know, posting about this. Yes, protect the black woman, but protect all women and children for sure. Nobody, no matter the color of their skin, deserves to go through domestic violence in any shape or form, man or woman, because there's men who go through domestic abuse too. They just more than likely don't say anything, because they know that they'll be mocked or teased or made fun of instead of taken seriously. So that's a whole nother dynamic. But in this case, he definitely was putting paws on this girl. With the Six of Spears coming out, he saw her moving towards calmer waters. He saw her moving towards calmer waters, and he didn't exactly like that. As she said, she was screaming out for help. She's got some dysfunction within her, some narcissism in her that she needed to heal. But then at some point, she got, a therapist or a psychologist or whatever. And she did right. She admits that, she was calling out for help. She doesn't admit that, it was terrorism. Maybe she didn't see it as such. But at the end of the day, it was a bit much, because I feel like the basis of her, like contacting him like that, like, help us, you left me and your son out in the cold. I feel like it was because she really just wanted him to, like, them to be a family. And he was like walking away. He was like, I'm not dealing with this shit. Like, you're emotional. It's just too much. I don't want to deal with this. And then he kind of walked away. I think it became a bit much for him. But was she doing this? Was the basis of her doing this, these different acts of what I call emotional terrorism, because she felt like he was cheating on her? So part of it was, yes, she thought he was cheating on her all the time. And then as the other part, she just wanted him to come home and for them to be a family. Yes, she wanted them to try to work things out. But then at some point, towards the end, when she filed this court case, was she still trying to get DDG to work things out with her? No. She was moving towards this Six of Swords. She was moving into calmer waters. He did not like that, because then she would not be dependent on him emotionally anymore. She would not feel the need to emotionally terrorize him anymore. She was now getting help from her therapist or her psychologist. I'm sure they probably put her on a medication that probably, lessened the feelings of anxiety or depression or whatever she was dealing with psychologically. So she started moving towards the Six of Spears. It brought DDG deep conflict. He felt conflicted about this. He didn't like that, because now she's no longer dependent on his time and attention like she was begging for before. Now she's actually secure within herself. And I feel like he was already kind of, and we can double check just to make sure, but before DDG and Halle Bailey even got together, was DDG already dealing with feelings of jealousy towards Halle Bailey? He secretly was already jealous of her. because she was already quite famous. Oh, my neck. She was already quite famous, well known in the industry. Um, like he said, Hollywood's princess. And the way he said that was like he despised her for it because he didn't come from that. He had to work towards, becoming that. And when he met her, she was already there. Um, yeah, so the way that he communicated with her was like a page. Um, Page of Swords. And let me just make sure. But I feel like the way that he communicated with her was exactly how he was able to see things, which was in a very immature um, way. Mm. Okay, yeah. So the Page of Swords represents, a time of learning new ideas, but it can represent a young, inquisitive, and mentally sharp individual, or the energy of youthful curiosity and intellectual pursuits. I feel like he was coming from a page's perspective and way of thinking where Halle Bailey is concerned. And yeah, the Page of Swords represents someone that never seems to run out of ideas. Um, they're always asking questions, they're always curious, they're gifted with a sharp tongue and a quick wit, but from the perspective of an immature, youthful, individual, is what I'm picking up and is what I'm hearing. Yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh. He saw her moving towards her Nine of Cups without him. She was moving towards wish fulfillment, and that did not sit well with him. Yeah. Yeah. Ugh. With the Six of Flowers coming up, that's like the Six of Wands. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he felt like she was heading towards new beginnings. Um, it's a combination of youthful energy, creative inspiration, and eventual triumph. And he felt like she was moving towards that eventual triumph without him. Maybe if she would have like gotten the medication and the evaluation early on, and then maybe if he was able to get some counseling too, it possibly could have worked. But now he sees she's not the same like emotional terrorist that she was probably all throughout their time together. She's actually comfortable in her own skin. She's healing. She's not cleaving on to him like she was before. And in the moment of that incident, he just wanted to be the emperor to her Queen of Flowers. But he hit a tower moment because she no longer needed him or wanted him in her life as the emperor. She didn't need that from him anymore. She was the Queen of Flowers, and she was moving further into her stardom as the star. Yeah, that put him into a tower moment. He felt like the wheels were turning more in her favor. instead of his. And what he felt that he could possibly gain from their connection or their relationship was no longer available to him. And so in that instance, he was angry because he also felt like his coins would eventually start to dry up. Yeah, that's crazy. Wow. Wow. So, why did DDG also file a restraining order against Halle Bailey? Did he really feel like Halle Bailey at that time was a danger to him or his son? Let's start with danger to him. Did he feel like she was a danger to him? To DDG? Okay, that's a no. Did he feel like at that moment in time that Halle Bailey was a danger to Halo? So that's a no. Maybe previously he could have possibly felt that way. I feel like before she started getting the counseling and the medication in her system, I think there's a possibility he could have felt that way, because she was saying in the messages like she had a knife and different things like that. But when this incident happened, when she went to the courts, and first of all, she showed pictures of bruising, like he had really beat her. She had bruising all on her side, a chipped tooth. Was this the case? Like, did he beat her up in that instant? This is a yes, and a strong one. So when she filed this suit, she was very much telling the truth. And once the judge saw these different things, these different proofs, and see, a lot of women and men, they don't take the time to, when they're in a battered situation, they don't take the time to actually get proofs. And so it's really hard to believe a he say, she say type of situation. Anyone can say someone beat them or abused them, Amber Heard. But, you know, if you actually have proof of this, you're actually more than likely to get a very serious response, because now you got something to back up your claims. You have proof. Just like the situation with Kiki. You know, when she went through that situation with her ex. Wow. Yeah. So he's in a... Wow. 2 cards popped out. He's in a 4 of hedgehogs space at this time, along with 8 of spears. So he's self-sabotaging. He's self-sabotaging. She is in her Queen of Flowers. And she's moving towards the Ace of Spears. New beginnings and, swift communication. Trying to be able to handle this better for the sake of their son. She's in a 9 of Hedgehogs, which is equivalent to the 9 of Pentacles. Wow. Yeah, I probably would like have other parties with me when I go for drop off, where the children are concerned and things of that nature, because it just is not a safe or secure situation where they can just kind of communicate and be alone together. Um, he's not mature enough to, yeah. So did the incident really happen where he threw her phone out his window as he was driving away? He took her phone from her and then threw it out the window and said, "Go get it, B." That really happened. That's crazy. Um, she's with a new man now. Is she with him just to make DDG jealous? DDG jealous. Okay, that's a no. So she genuinely likes this guy? That's good. Is DDG currently seeing anyone at this time? No. But he probably will in the near future, correct? Yes. I think he should get help too. It's not enough that she's just getting counseling. He needs to see a therapist too. Um, this is very important in being able to, um, release old programming in order for him to securely and efficiently be able to move on, uh, healing properly. He definitely should get a therapist too, for sure. And then I think that they'll both be on the level to be the best parents to Halo, for sure, moving into the future. Yeah, and they can co-parent more properly with each other. I just have one more question. Was DDG's mom telling the truth concerning Halle Bailey? Okay. Yeah, she seemed like kind of down the middle. To be honest, it looked like at first she really liked her, but then when all of this came out, maybe, and I'll ask, did DDG's mom know that DDG was putting his hands on Halle Bailey and beating her up? I figured. I figured. She seemed to be coming from a mother's perspective who doesn't know the ins and outs of, what all was going on. She seen the tags and, probably read the messages that Halle Bailey, initially was sending to DDG early on in their relationship. And then even, while she was pregnant and going through postpartum and all of that, after the pregnancy. But I don't think that she really knows the ins and outs of like the magnitude of their relationship and why it has come to this point. Like a mom, she's just being protective of her son. It seems like, because does she have any negative feelings towards Halle Bailey? Yeah, I genuinely believe that she wants the best for them both. I feel like she doesn't really have anything for Halle Bailey, but at the same time, she doesn't want her son thrown under the bus too. And so she's just speaking what she knows of as far as like the tags being in the car and stuff like that. But yeah, she doesn't know that he was like putting hands on her or probably any of the things he was doing. He probably was making it seem like it was all Halle Bailey that was just crazy, acting crazy towards him, not, stating his part to play in all this, which is never good to just be deceptive. Like, what do you get out of that? Eventually, everything's going to come out anyway. So, So hopefully at some point the mother will find peace. She will find out the truths of the matter, and she'll be able to continue being down the middle to them both, encouraging them both to, seek the mental help and clarity that they both need in order for them to be the best parents that they can be to Halo. Because at the end of the day, he's the most important um, factor of this entire situation. First, there's their health, their mental health, that they've got to get in check. Then there's Halo. We don't want Halo growing up with psychological issues and doing some of the same things that he's seeing being done to his mom to someone else's daughter now. We don't want that. So it's imperative that his parents get the help that they need so that they can train him and teach him and raise him up in a way where he will be a productive citizen, a good standing man, growing up. And, he can be better than them. He can be better than people before them. So I really hope that this comes into fruition. He deserves that. His little cute self. He's such a cutie. And I really hope that DDG does consider getting some therapy so that him and Hallie can move towards healing totally and completely, and they can be the best examples of parents that they can be for this little one. He's just so cute. But yeah, so that is the reading for today. What will Halle Bailey's outcome be? What will Halle Bailey's outcome be? I forgot to ask that. What will Halle Bailey's outcome be in this situation? Mm. Okay. Mm. This is good. This is positive. Um, First card that popped up is the Queen of Teacups. Yep, the Queen of Teacups. She will end up with a King of Hedgehogs, which this is equivalent to the King of Pentacles. She's in a Four of Spears state, or she will be, which she will take some time to take a little break and rest, rejuvenate, clear her head from all of these different happenings between her and DDG. But she will continue on making her Ace of Pentacles and her Ten of Pentacles. She will have ultimate wealth in this lifetime. Especially if she continues to work at her mental health, for sure. So that's really good. Now, what is DDG's outcome? What is DDG's outcome in all this? What is DDG's outcome overall? What is DDG's outcome? What is DDG's outcome? What is DDG's outcome, Spirit? This is good. Okay. All right. Nice. Okay. Uh. Mm. Nice. Okay. Thank you, Spirit. So, the first card that popped out was Transformation. Then the King of Hedgehogs. Then the Hierophant. Then the Eight of Teacups. Then the King of Spears. Judgment. Justice. And the Ace of Flowers. So, if he works towards getting his mental health stabilized, he will go through a really great transformation. And only then will he become the King of Hedgehogs. He will become the King of Pentacles in his life. And he will have ultimate money flow because he dealt with this area that, needs attention very badly, which is his mental health. He will have new endeavors in business and maybe even marriage at some point if he is to get his mental health underway and go through transformation. One second, guys. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So along with this transformation, if he pays close attention to and actively heals and goes through, the healing that he needs mentally, psychologically, then he will experience an ultimate shift with this Eight of Teacups, which the Eight of Cups is leaving a situation that is no longer fulfilling or aligned with one's deeper needs often involving a spiritual or emotional shift. And that's exactly what he needs in order to move forward and to elevate. He will become the king of spears. He will be ultimately better in his communication and setting firm boundaries. Um, when this all comes out, there will be some judgment passed on him only because he lied about, him being the one that's abused. And in this reading, we found that Haley is not physically harming him at all. Um, was she emotionally terroristic? Yes, but she never put her hands on him like he did her. So judgment will be passed on him as the truth is exposed. But this justice card tells me that there will be justice for him, Haley, and little Halo. And the Ace of Flowers tells me that he will have new beginnings in creativity and business ventures as time goes on, which will allow him the opportunity to bring in more and more money flow over time. And 1 second. Yeah. Yep. At the bottom of the deck, at the bottom of the deck was the Six of Flowers. And so if he goes through this transformation and he heals himself up, then he will ultimately receive the Six of Flowers in his life, which basically will signify victory, success, and public recognition for him going through the process of healing and actually being able to move forward in a healthier light. And just healing and releasing the old programming. It's really all he needs. Once he goes through that transformation, everything else in life and every area of life will start to look up for him, for sure. And in the end, will Haley and DDG be able to come together and co-parent with each other? That's good. That is so good. And this will be in a positive light. They would have both done their healing work. If they both do their work, this will end very positively for all three of them. And of course, this will be the greatest outcome for little Halo, right? Yes. Mm-hmm. All right, I am waiting to see it. I hope I'm able to see this come into fruition because I really wish the best for both of them. They both have so much potential, and they definitely should consider this little one that's watching them at every turn. So that is all for the Halle Bailey and DDG reading, or the DDG and Halle Bailey reading. Definitely like and subscribe if you, if you fuck with my vibe. And definitely comment down below what you guys think about this reading. And definitely give me suggestions if you have suggestions for any other readings that I should do. And I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Peace and many bright blessings unto you all.